My name is Kenny Tan. Welcome to Real Estate License in 14 Weeks. This is episode 17. We continue to talk about chapter 5, but this time we're going to talk about mortgage and deed of trust. If you like my video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell, and share this video with your friends. That way you will receive first notification of new releases concerning my videos. What is a mortgage? Mortgage is similar to a deed of trust. So when you get a loan from the bank will want to have a mortgage against your property. But there is a difference between mortgage and trust deed. In California, we don't use mortgage. Some of the states in the East Coast, such as Florida, they use mortgage. But in California, the term mortgage is used interchangeably with trust deed. In reality, technically, the kind of papers that we sign to get a loan in California is trust deed or deed of trust. Now let's talk about mortgage. Now some of you probably are wondering, why is it that we need to know about mortgage when in fact in California we don't even use mortgage? Well, this is just part of the theories that we study so that you have an understanding of the difference between the mortgage and the trust deed. Because it shows up on the exam, we have to study it. Okay. A mortgage is a security paper that is recorded against the property to secure the loan that you borrow from the bank. Now, in the case of a mortgage, you have the lender. We call the lender mortgagee. And then we have the borrower, and we call the borrower mortgagor. There is no third party in between. It is just the mortgagor, the borrower, and mortgagee, the lender. If a borrower cannot make the payment on the mortgage, what are the remedies that a mortgagee has? A mortgagee, remember, is the lender. Well, if a mortgagor, the borrower, defaults on the loan, in other words, the borrower is not making payments on the loan, the mortgagee, the lender, would have to go to court and file a lawsuit to foreclose on the property of the mortgagor. Okay, now at the end of the foreclosure process, some of you may remember that back in the 2008-2009 when we had the foreclosure crisis, many properties actually went down in value. I'll give you an example. Let's say a property that is worth $1 million in Florida. It's foreclosed by the lender. The lender would have to go to court and file a foreclosure action. At the end of it, the lender will get a court order to have the property foreclosed. Now, what does it mean to have the property foreclosed? All that means is that the property will be sold to the general public, to the highest bidder. Now, if, let's say, for example, the property dropped in value. When the borrower borrowed money from the lender, it was before the foreclosure crisis and he bought it for $1 million. And let's say, for example, the foreclosure crisis came and the property dropped in value to $600,000. As you know, if the property dropped in value from $1 million to $600,000, more likely than not, the lender is going to lose money. Now, let's say, for example, the borrower bought it for $1 million and borrowed $900,000 from the lender, and the property went down in value to about $600,000. So if the lender forced the property to be sold at an auction, it was sold for $600,000. The lender actually loaned $900,000 to the borrower. What that means is the lender actually lost $300,000 because the lender paid $900,000 for the loan and only got back $600,000. So that is what we call a deficiency of $300,000. The question is, can the lender go after the borrower, the mortgagor, for the deficiency of $300,000? In the case of a mortgage, that is deficiency judgment. Let's say, for example, the borrower is from California. The property is in Florida. The lender cannot come to California and sue the borrower for the deficiency because, no, actually the lender can, in the case of a mortgage, the lender can come to California and sue the borrower for the deficiency judgment. So there is a deficiency judgment. There is right to deficiency judgment in the case of a mortgage. On the other hand, the borrower have what we call the right of redemption. So what is a right of redemption? What this means is, let's say, for example, the borrower actually won a lottery after the property has been sold at an auction. And the borrower actually won a Powerball and wanted to get the property back to redeem on the loan. Now, in that case, the law in mortgage actually allows the borrower a certain amount of time to redeem on the mortgage. That means that there is right of redemption in the case of mortgage. So there is right of redemption, and there is also deficiency judgment in the case of a mortgage. What is a trust deed? In California, since we don't use mortgage, we use trust deed. Trust deed is also known as deed of trust. The two terms are used interchangeably. So for the purpose of the discussion, I'll use the word trust deed. Different from mortgage, which has only two parties, in the case of a trust deed, there are three parties. You have the borrower, we call the borrower trustor. And then we have the lender, we call the lender beneficiary. And then in the middle, it's a person who actually holds title to the property in the case of a trust deed. And the middle person is called the trustee. The trustee holds naked title to the property. What does the word naked mean? As we know, naked means bare. Bare means what? Without power, without anything. So a trustee really does not own the property and holds the legal title to the property, but has no power to do anything. The only time the trustee has power to act is when the borrower is in default, i.e. the borrower is not able to make his payments on the trustee. So the lender, the beneficiary, will notify the trustee to take action to foreclose on the borrower's property. Now, in the case of a foreclosure on a trustee, there's a special name for it. It is called trustee's sale. A trustee sale is commenced when the beneficiary notified the trustee to go ahead and commence it by recording a notice of default. A notice of default is a legal document that is recorded with the county recorder whenever a trustor is in default, meaning that he's behind on his payment. After the notice of default is recorded, the borrower has 90 days to get the property back, to reinstate on the loan. As a matter of fact, the borrower has more than 90 days. And let me explain. After a notice of default is recorded for 90 days, the next step for the trustee would be to record what is known as a notice of trustee sale. A notice of trustee sale is a document that has to be recorded before the property can be put to auction. So there is a 90-day period for the notice of default, and then there is a 20-day period for the notice of trustee sale. So in other words, I'll give you an example. Let's say, for example, the notice of default was recorded on June 1st. Because it is 90 days, so at the end of that will be at the end of August, because that will be around 90 days. So let's say August 30th is the sale date. It's not the sale date, but it's the date that the notice of default expires. On August 30th, the trustee can go ahead and record the notice of trustee sale, which is for 20 days the earliest. It can be later than 20 days, but the 20-day period is the shortest amount of time. So if you're trying to figure out how long it takes to complete a trustee sale, you add 20 days to 90 days, and that's about 110 days, because 90 plus 20 is 110. Now, as far as the reinstatement period, it is more than 90 days. Reinstatement means that if there is $1 million loan and the borrower is only behind by a few months, let's say, for example, the borrower is only behind by $50,000, a reinstatement will only require the borrower to pay $50,000 to the trustee to save his property from foreclosure. But the reinstatement period actually expires 5 business days before the sale date. The sale date, as I said earlier, is the 20th day of whatever the day is, but it has to be no sooner than 20 days after the notice of trustee sale is recorded. And then he has 5 business days before the sale date. Okay, so it is 5 business days before the sale date for reinstatement. Now, after that, there is no more right for reinstatement. The only thing that the borrower can do would be to pay off. So to pay off the loan, the borrower needs to pay $1 million to the bank, but to reinstate, the borrower only needs to pay $50,000 to the bank. In the case of a trustee sale, there is no right of redemption. In the case of mortgage, there is right of redemption, but unlike mortgage, in the case of a trustee, in a trustee sale, there is no right redemption. In other words, even if the borrower hit the lottery, make money in the Powerball, he can't go to the court, or he cannot get his property back. Once it's sold, it is final. However, the borrower, there is no deficiency judgment against the borrower. So in other words, in the case of the example in Florida, we'll apply it in California. Let's say the property is $1 million. It was purchased for $1 million, and then the borrower borrowed $900,000. Property dropped in price to about $600,000. So there is a deficiency of $300,000. So if the lender went ahead with the trustee sale, the $300,000 that the lender lost at the trustee sale, the lender cannot sue the borrower to get the $300,000, to recover the $300,000, because there is no deficiency judgment in the case of a trustee sale. If you would like to purchase a property at a trustee sale, you will go to, usually the trustee sale is held in front of the courthouse. So you go to in front of the courthouse, bring your cashier's check with you, enough to cover for the opening bid or more. So you go ahead, and if you're lucky, you become the successful bidder. Now, often people would ask, well, what if I become a successful bidder? Exactly what do I get? What you get is similar to a grant deed, but they don't call it a grant deed. They call it a trustee's deed upon sale. That gives you the legal title to a property. It is as good as a grant deed, but it is called by a different name. This is the end of episode 17. See you next time.